The avoidant is coming back to you finally. The avoidant has finally reached out to you. The avoidant is suddenly ready to reconnect. The avoidant wants to see you again. The avoidant misses you and wants to talk. This moment has likely been something you have been waiting for and hoping for. This moment may feel like validation of your worth. This moment may feel like the avoidant has finally changed their mind about you. This moment may feel like everything is finally going to be different now. But before you celebrate or feel relieved, before you open your heart fully, before you fall back into the old patterns, remember this first. Remember clearly why the avoidant left you. Remember exactly what they were running from. Remember exactly what you felt when they created distance. Remember the pain you experienced when they pulled away. Remember how it felt to be abandoned by someone you love. The avoidant is coming back to you finally, but you need to remember something essential before you let them back in completely. You need to remember that the avoidant did not change. You need to remember that the avoidant's return does not mean that the avoidant has suddenly become capable of healthy attachment. You need to remember that history has a tendency to repeat itself. The avoidant's return is not necessarily a sign that things will be different. The avoidant's return is often a sign that the avoidant has become lonely. The avoidant's return is often a sign that the avoidant is experiencing their own withdrawal pain. The avoidant's return is often cyclical and may not be permanent. This is what you need to remember when the avoidant is coming back. Number 1. The avoidance cycle of leaving and returning. The avoidant has a pattern. The avoidant leaves. The avoidant creates distance. The avoidant withdraws emotionally. The avoidant pulls away and disappears, but then the avoidant comes back. The avoidant reaches out. The avoidant wants to reconnect. This cycle is not accidental. This cycle is not something the avoidant does consciously. The cycle is built into the avoidant's attachment pattern. The cycle is how the avoidant's brain and heart manage intimacy and distance. The avoidant approaches. The avoidant gets close. The avoidant feels the intimacy. The avoidant gets scared. The avoidant retreats. The avoidant creates distance and disappears, but then the avoidant experiences the pain of being alone. The avoidant experiences the withdrawal symptoms from not having you in their life. The avoidant begins to miss you. The avoidant reaches out again. And the cycle repeats. The avoidant comes back. You take them back. The avoidant gets close again. The avoidant gets scared again. The avoidant runs again. This cycle can continue indefinitely unless someone breaks it. Number 2. What triggers the avoidant's return? The avoidant does not return because they have suddenly had a realization that you are essential to them. The avoidant returns because they are experiencing pain. The avoidant returns because they are lonely. The avoidant returns because they are missing the connection they had with you. But this is not the same as the avoidant making a genuine change. This is not the same as the avoidant deciding that they are willing to do the work necessary to maintain a healthy relationship. This is simply the avoidant becoming uncomfortable with the distance. The avoidant has probably tried other connections. The avoidant has probably tried to fill the void with someone else or something else. The avoidant has probably realized that no one else understands them the way you do. The avoidant has probably realized that the other options are not as good as what they had with you. So the avoidant comes back. But the avoidant is not necessarily coming back to change or to commit. The avoidant is coming back to ease their own pain. Number 3. The danger of repeating old patterns. When the avoidant is coming back, there is a danger. The danger is that you will fall back into the same patterns that existed before. The danger is that you will accept the avoidant back without addressing what happened. The danger is that you will pretend that the abandonment did not hurt you. The danger is that you will ignore the red flags. The danger is that you will overlook the same behaviors that caused the avoidant to leave in the first place. The danger is that you will settle for the same inconsistent, withdrawn version of the avoidant. When the avoidant is coming back, you have an opportunity to do something different. You have an opportunity to set boundaries. You have an opportunity to require change. You have an opportunity to protect yourself. But if you fall back into the old patterns, if you accept the avoidant without conditions, if you pretend that nothing has changed, then the cycle will continue. The avoidant will leave again. The avoidant will return again. And you will be back where you started. If you are watching this video because an avoidant in your life is coming back and you need to understand what this means and what to remember, please subscribe to this channel. You will receive videos that help you navigate avoidant relationships with wisdom and with boundaries. Number 4. The avoidant's motivation for returning. The avoidant's motivation for returning is important to understand. The avoidant is not returning because they have suddenly become capable of vulnerability. The avoidant is returning because they have become uncomfortable without you. This is not the same thing. Discomfort is not the same as genuine change. Loneliness is not the same as growth. Missing someone is not the same as being willing to do the hard work necessary to have a healthy relationship. The avoidant may use words that sound like change. The avoidant may apologize. The avoidant may say that they have been thinking about you, and that they miss you, and that they want things to be different. The avoidant may promise that things will be better this time, but words are cheap. Actions are what matter. The avoidant's behavior is what will tell you whether they have genuinely changed or whether they are simply returning because the pain of absence has become too great to bear. Number 5. Your right to have standards for the avoidant's return. You have the right to have standards for how the avoidant treats you when they return. You have the right to require that the avoidant take responsibility for what happened. You have the right to require that the avoidant demonstrate genuine change before you fully accept them back into your life. You do not have to simply accept the avoidant back without any conditions. You do not have to pretend that their absence did not hurt you. You do not have to forgive them without evidence that they understand what they did and are committed to not doing it again. Your standards are not negotiable. Your worth is not negotiable. Your need for consistency and reliability is not negotiable. When the avoidant is coming back, stand firm in your boundaries. Require that the avoidant prove that they are worth the risk of opening your heart again. Require that the avoidant demonstrate that they have thought about their behavior and are willing to change. Number 6. The question you must ask yourself. When the avoidant is coming back, you must ask yourself an important question. You must ask yourself whether the avoidant has actually changed or whether they are simply returning because they are uncomfortable. You must ask yourself whether the avoidant has done any internal work. You must ask yourself whether the avoidant has thought about why they have a pattern of leaving and returning. You must ask yourself whether the avoidant has made any effort to understand their own attachment wounds. If the answer to these questions is no, if the avoidant is simply returning without any evidence of change or growth, then you need to be very careful about accepting them back. Number 7. The temporary nature of the avoidant's sweetness upon return. When the avoidant first returns, the avoidant is often very sweet. The avoidant is attentive. The avoidant is loving. The avoidant is present in ways they were not before they left. The avoidant is saying all the right things. The avoidant is making promises. This sweetness is often temporary. This sweetness often fades once the avoidant feels secure in the relationship again. Once the avoidant feels that you're not going anywhere. Once the avoidant feels that you have forgiven them and moved past what happened, the avoidant often reverts to their old patterns. The avoidant becomes distant again. The avoidant withdraws again. The avoidant pulls away again. And you are left wondering what happened to the loving version of the avoidant that came back initially. This is why you need to remember that the avoidant is coming back. You need to remember that the sweetness and attention upon their return may not be permanent. You need to remember that you should not make major decisions or commitments based on this initial behavior. Number 8. The avoidant's fear of being replaced. One reason the avoidant comes back is fear. The avoidant is afraid that you have moved on. The avoidant is afraid that you have found someone else. The avoidant is afraid that you have healed and no longer need them. This fear drives the avoidant to return. This fear makes the avoidant suddenly reach out. This fear makes the avoidant suddenly interested in reconnecting. But this fear is not the same as love. This fear is not the same as a commitment to change. This fear is simply the avoidant's self-preservation instinct kicking in. When the avoidant is coming back, understand that they may be coming back for the wrong reasons. Understand that they may be coming back not because they love you, but because they fear losing you to someone else. Number 9. What you should not do when the avoidant is coming back. When the avoidant is coming back, there are things you should not do. You should not immediately abandon your boundaries. You should not immediately forgive without requiring an explanation. You should not immediately resume your old relationship dynamic. You should not pretend that nothing happened. You should not ignore the pain you experienced when they left. You should not act as though the avoidant's absence did not affect you. You should not move too fast. You should not make commitments quickly. You should not give the avoidant more chances without evidence that they have changed. You should not compromise your standards. You should not accept less than you deserve. You should not settle for the same inconsistent behavior that caused you pain before. Number 10. The truth about the avoidant's return. The truth about the avoidance return is that it does not guarantee a different future. The truth about the avoidance return is that it is often cyclical. The truth about the avoidance return is that you need to be very careful not to repeat old patterns. The avoidant may return. The avoidant may seem different. The avoidant may make promises, but unless the avoidant has genuinely done the work to change their attachment patterns, the cycle will repeat. The avoidant is coming back to you finally. But you need to remember this first. You need to remember who the avoidant is and what they have done. You need to remember that the avoidance return does not erase the pain. You need to remember that you deserve consistency and reliability. The danger of hoping for change without evidence of change. When the avoidant is coming back, there is a danger in hoping that this time will be different. There is a danger in believing that the avoidant has changed simply because they are saying the right things. There is a danger in ignoring the avoidant's past behavior because you want them to be different. Hope is not a strategy. Wanting someone to change is not the same as someone actually changing. Words are not actions. When the avoidant is coming back, you need to look at what the avoidant is doing, not just what they are saying. You need to watch their behavior over time. You need to see whether they are consistently showing up. You need to see whether they are demonstrating that they have thought about their patterns. If the avoidant is only saying the right things but not changing their behavior, then the avoidant has not actually changed. Understanding your own patterns and accepting the avoidant back. When the avoidant is coming back, you also need to look at your own patterns. You need to understand why you might be tempted to accept them back without conditions. You need to understand what need the avoidant is filling in you. Many people who attach to avoidance have their own attachment wounds. Many people believe that they need to be understanding and patient and accommodating in order to keep someone they love. Many people believe that if they are just patient enough, if they are just loving enough, the avoidant will finally change. But this belief is a trap. This belief keeps you stuck in cycles of abandonment and reunion. This belief prevents you from honoring your own needs and your own worth. When the avoidant is coming back, you need to ask yourself whether you are accepting them back for the right reasons. You need to ask yourself whether you are falling back into old patterns of self-abandonment. You need to ask yourself whether you are willing to compromise your own well-being in order to keep the avoidant in your life. The answers to these questions are important. The answers will determine whether you repeat the same cycle or whether you finally break free from it. What the avoidance return does not mean. When the avoidant is coming back, it is important to understand what their return does not mean. The avoidance return does not mean that they have suddenly become secure in their attachment. The avoidance return does not mean that they have done therapy or internal work on their wounds. The avoidance return does not mean that they are suddenly capable of the kind of consistent, vulnerable intimacy that a healthy relationship requires. The avoidance return does not mean that they have stopped running when things get difficult. The avoidance return does not mean that they have changed their core patterns. The avoidance return does not mean that the cycle will not repeat. The avoidance return simply means that the avoidant is currently uncomfortable without you. It is important that you understand this distinction because it will affect how you respond to their return. The importance of taking time before making decisions. When the avoidant is coming back, there is often pressure to make quick decisions. The avoidant wants things to go back to normal immediately. The avoidant wants you to forget about the past. The avoidant wants you to jump back into the relationship without processing what happened. This pressure is something you need to resist. You need to take time. You need to sit with the avoidance return and process what it means. You need to think about whether accepting them back serves you or serves only them. Taking time does not mean that you are being cold or rejecting. Taking time means that you are being wise. Taking time means that you are honoring yourself. Taking time means that you are making a conscious choice rather than an emotional reaction. The avoidant may try to pressure you during this time. The avoidant may say that you are being unfair or that you are holding a grudge. The avoidant may try to make you feel guilty for not immediately accepting them back. But your need for time is valid. Your need to process is valid. Your need to think before you act is valid. Recognizing the avoidant's anxiety during separation. When the avoidant comes back, they are often coming back because they have been experiencing anxiety during the separation. The avoidant experiences withdrawal from the attachment. The avoidant experiences anxiety about whether you have moved on. The avoidant experiences the discomfort of being alone with their thoughts. This anxiety is real, but it is not the same as the avoidant making a conscious decision to change. This anxiety is not the same as the avoidant deciding that they want to do the work necessary to have a healthy relationship. The avoidant is simply uncomfortable and wants to relieve the discomfort. The avoidant reaches out to you because you are a known source of relief. The avoidant returns to you because reconnecting with you will soothe their anxiety. But soothing the avoidant's anxiety is not your responsibility. Your job is not to make the avoidant feel better by accepting them back without conditions. Setting boundaries for the avoidant's return. When the avoidant is coming back, this is an ideal time to set clear boundaries. This is your opportunity to establish what you will and will not accept in the relationship going forward. You can set boundaries around communication. You can require that the avoidant be consistent in their communication and not disappear without explanation. You can require that the avoidant make a genuine effort to connect with you regularly. You can set boundaries around emotional availability. You can require that the avoidant work on opening up emotionally. You can require that the avoidant be willing to discuss the relationship and what happened when they left. You can set boundaries around commitment. You can require that the avoidant demonstrate through their actions that they are committed to you. You can require that the avoidant not disappear again when things get difficult. These boundaries are not punishment. These boundaries are protection. These boundaries are essential if you are going to have a healthy relationship with the avoidant. The avoidant may resist your boundaries. When you set boundaries, the avoidant may resist. The avoidant may tell you that you are being unfair. The avoidant may try to convince you that you are being too demanding. The avoidant may attempt to manipulate you into abandoning your boundaries. This resistance is common. This resistance is the avoidant's attempt to maintain control and avoid the vulnerability that comes with genuine intimacy and commitment. But your boundaries are not negotiable. Your needs are not unreasonable. Your requirement that the avoidant treat you consistently and reliably is not too much to ask. If the avoidant cannot accept your boundaries, if the avoidant resists the idea that they need to change, then this is evidence that the avoidant has not genuinely changed. This is evidence that accepting them back would lead you back into the same unhealthy cycle, protecting your heart while remaining open. When the avoidant is coming back, you face a difficult balance. You need to protect your heart from further hurt while remaining open enough to give the relationship another chance. This balance requires wisdom. This balance requires you to move slowly. This balance requires you to watch the avoidant's actions over time rather than just listening to their words. You can protect your heart by not immediately giving the avoidant full access to you. You can protect your heart by maintaining your own life and your own interests. You can protect your heart by keeping your expectations realistic. But you can also remain open by listening to what the avoidant has to say. You can remain open by being willing to hear their perspective. You can remain open by giving them the opportunity to show you whether they have changed. This balance is difficult, but it is necessary if you want to avoid repeating the same cycle. The timeline for rebuilding trust. When the avoidant is coming back, rebuilding trust takes time. Trust is not something that is rebuilt overnight. Trust is rebuilt through consistent, reliable behavior over time. The avoidant cannot expect that you will trust them immediately just because they have returned. The avoidant needs to demonstrate through their actions that they are trustworthy. The avoidant needs to show up consistently. The avoidant needs to follow through on their promises. The avoidant needs to be reliable. This process can take months or even longer. During this time, you are watching the avoidant. You are assessing whether they have genuinely changed. You are determining whether it is safe to fully open your heart to them again. If the avoidant becomes impatient during this process, if the avoidant tries to rush you back into full trust, this is a red flag. This suggests that the avoidant is more focused on their own comfort than on genuinely rebuilding the relationship. What to do if the avoidant withdraws again? It is possible that the avoidant will withdraw again. It is possible that once the novelty of returning wears off, the avoidant will feel the familiar urge to create distance. It is possible that the cycle will begin again. If this happens, you need to be prepared. You need to have decided in advance what you will do if the avoidant runs again. You need to have decided whether you will accept them back a third time or whether this time you will finally break the cycle. This decision is important because it will determine your own well-being and your own future. Allowing the avoidant to continue cycling in and out of your life is not healthy for you. At some point, you need to decide that you are worth more than this cycle. You need to decide that you deserve consistency. You deserve reliability. You deserve someone who does not run when things get difficult. Honoring the pain you experienced during the separation. When the avoidant is coming back, it can be easy to overlook the pain you experienced when they left. It can be easy to minimize the hurt. It can be easy to jump back into the relationship and pretend that the abandonment did not affect you. But this is a mistake. The pain you experience is real. The abandonment hurt you. The rejection affected you. These experiences matter and they need to be acknowledged. You do not have to dwell on the pain indefinitely, but you should not pretend that it did not happen. You should acknowledge to yourself what you experience. You should honor your own emotions. When you honor the pain, you give yourself the ability to move forward in a healthier way. When you acknowledge what happened, you prevent yourself from repeating the same patterns. When you honor your own hurt, you can make decisions from a place of self-respect rather than from a place of desperation. The difference between forgiveness and acceptance. When the avoidant is coming back, you may feel pressure to forgive them immediately. Forgiveness is important and it is healthy, but forgiveness does not mean accepting them back unconditionally. Forgiveness is something you do for yourself. Forgiveness is releasing the anger and the resentment that you are holding. Forgiveness is freeing yourself from the emotional burden of what the avoidant did. But acceptance is different. Acceptance means deciding to continue the relationship. Acceptance means deciding to give the avoidant another chance. Acceptance should come with conditions. Acceptance should come after you have seen evidence of change. You can forgive the avoidant without accepting them back into your life. You can forgive the avoidant without allowing them to continue hurting you. You can forgive the avoidant and still decide that it is best for you to move on. Understanding the avoidant's fear of abandonment. By you. The avoidant is coming back because they are afraid. The avoidant is afraid that you have moved on. The avoidant is afraid that you no longer need them. The avoidant is afraid that you have realized that you are better off without them. This fear is the flip side of the avoidance pattern. The avoidant fears abandonment even though they are the ones who abandon. The avoidant fears being left even though they are the ones who leave. Understanding this paradox can help you respond to the avoidance return with more compassion. But compassion does not mean accepting unhealthy behavior. Compassion does not mean sacrificing your own well-being. You can understand the avoidance fear and still require that they change their behavior. You can empathize with the avoidance wounds and still protect yourself.